Flash, you don't want Squash.
Sometimes Flash is just
Are
a
you
little
there,
bit
Grant, or
slow
are
in
you
the
just
mornings.
And you're slow, bloody, you're slow.
He is slow all the time, but in the mornings he's extra slow.
Really slow.
And one of my what he needs.
I need someone to grab a loading for me while I'm getting the account started.
So he just eats vegetables?
Yes, so he is mostly vegetables, and then he gets 2 hard-boiled eggs a week, and that's his protein source.
Okay.
So in the wild, he would eat a small variety of bugs and insects and moths and things like that. That's where he would get his protein from. But in captivity, we just have the 3 sloths, so it's a little bit harder. It's not really worth it to have those bugs imported in to be able to feed them.
Yeah.
What do you think, Flash? You just gonna
He's
curl
hiding.
up?
He's hiding. Hey, boy. You don't want to come and see us? Come and see us. We want to haunt you.
So Flash, we don't actually hold.
Oh, okay.
He is
So
our-
it's a showy?
Yeah, he is the only sloth that we don't hold here.
Oh.
So he came from a facility that was just observation beforehand. Flash was not used to any type of interaction like this when we first got him. So the first 2 years of having him, it really was just John in here all the time, and John would be the one that was talking to him, getting him comfortable with him. And he would come down and slowly start to interact with him. But Flash has never showed any signs that he wants to climb onto any of us, and that's totally fine with us. That'll be his decision.
If the tourist
Yeah. And they're so
It's all right.
you would think they'd be wiry.
Mhm.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
thought that frozen was.
Yeah, if you were to look at a singular hair of a sloth under a microscope, you'd see that there's a lot of tiny little micro cracks all throughout those hairs, and that's what kind of gives it that wiry look.
He's sleepy. He's like us this morning. But you know what? Turn your head. Look how you oh gosh, he's at home. He's going to sit in here. He's like, no, I need to get the little crumbs.
Usually green beans are his favorite. He's not feeling it this morning. So kind of the cool thing about sloths is that their digestive tract already takes 30 days to digest everything that's in it from start to finish. And so once they get full and they get their digestive tract full for the day, or it's full for the moment, they need a few hours to digest just a little bit before they can eat some more, they have no problem turning away food. So unlike myself,
I wish I was like that.
yeah, if I have a full meal and still want a sweet treat afterwards, but once they get their belly full, they take a break for a while and don't feel like they have to keep eating.
Wait for you. Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh.
So Flash is just 6 years old, so we still call him our old man just because he's the oldest sloth that we have. But he's still got a long life ahead of him. So in captivity, they can live to be up to 50 years old.
Oh wow.
The oldest sloth that we know of was named Jan. He lived in a zoo in Germany, and he just passed away in August at the age of 54.
55.
Yeah.
Are you like his keeper or just one of many that?
So I'm
take
the
care of
sloth keeper now.
Okay.
I've only been here for about a month, so
Yeah.
he's still getting used to me and my voice and everything, because you can imagine everything with a sloth is very, very slow, so even adjusting to people is slow as well. And sloths have really poor eyesight, so he can't see the difference between me or you guys, but he can hear the difference. So he's starting to learn my voice and know the mannerisms that I have behind, the inflection behind the things that I say. So he knows that I'm in here just because he hears me talking. Now his absolute favorite person ever is talking to the one that's out there.
John, is that John? He's like the daddy.
So when we first got Flash, John spent a lot of time in there in his enclosure talking to him, getting him used to his voice, having him come down and just being close with him. before he would even consider, eating out of his hand. And so he knows John's voice the best. He's the one that's most time with him. And so in the mornings, if he's having kind of a slow morning, I can't get him to come down, John will come in here, and all he has to do is just poke his head in the door and say, "Hey, Flash," in the way that he says it, and Flash will start coming down because he loves John.
Oh, that is sweet.
Yeah.
So he just sleeps hanging on his head?
Yeah, so a lot of people wonder, how that's possible for them, because if we were to try to hold on for a long time, it would be pretty difficult. Yeah, because for us, clamp down on a branch like that with all of our body weight hanging, we're using muscles and tendons and ligaments, because that's our stress state. We're using energy to do that. But for them, holding on like that is actually their relaxed state. So for us, this is our relaxed state. And it's just
Right,
natural for them to be hooked onto the branch like that, because all of the muscles and tendons that are in their arms are so tight that snap down is just natural for them. So for them to actually let go or reach to the next branch, that's what requires work, and that's what's harder for them to do. So if a sloth were to pass away in the tops of a tree holding on, they would not fall from that branch. They would continue to hang there until something either rotted or something knocked them out of the tree.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it was actually pretty cool. He had a vet visit the other day for just his annual checkup. We do have to sedate him for those, that way we can get a full all-around exam. And when he's sedate, it took just like about 5 minutes for that to kick in. And it just, everything, he turned his head real slow, and then everything just went stiff. He just completely froze in that position and did not let go. We were all kind of standing there like, waiting for him to start to let go, but he stayed on the whole time. We were moving him around and looking in different areas and things, so he kind of started to sway a little bit, so his claws kind of loosened, so we eventually took him down, but we had to unhook him from the branch to be able to get
So
him down
when
and
he
take a look.
does get down, does he go around in here or goes
No,
outside
so-
or anything? Or
No, the only time that he's down in here is just when we're doing exams.
Oh, okay, so the rest of the time he's up
Yeah.
here.
But this is just where he encounters, so his enclosure is actually in there behind you.
And I see
Okay.
the right there. She's speaking and she's
Oh,
saying, "Hey guys."
hi, now who's this one?
Is that
That's
Zoe?
Zoe.
Hi,
So that's when we
Zoe.
get to hold.
Yes.
Oh, my
Oh,
gosh.
look at it. She's
So-
curious.
Zoe actually went to the bathroom last night.
Oh.
And I'm gonna close this for right now so that she will
Oh,
go
yeah,
back
I'll-
over there
Oh,
and
she,
take a nap for a little bit, because she does not climb a whole lot. She's just never really liked to, but she'll climb for us if she's trying to get to us.
Oh,
so
love it.
So we'll
yeah.
just let her go over there and take a nap for a little bit while we finish in here with Flash. But Zoe loves to be on people. You wanna
Can you take a picture of both of us?
Yes.
Yeah.
We got it pulled up.
You got it?
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, you big baby.
Oh, my goodness. He's so sweet. Here too.
Yes.
You would
thank
think that, gosh, get so tired.
I think a lot of pictures of
Oh, yeah.
all those.
Oh, yeah.
Does he ever bite? I mean,
Only if they feel threatened. So these guys were bred and born in captivity, so they have no idea what to do if they were to ever be put back out in the rainforest.
Oh,
So very unlike, a wild sloth that you go out, if you were to try to go and have an encounter like this, it would go completely different. He would be trying to get away from you, he would definitely not hold on to you like Zoe does, and may even try to bite. So these guys don't ever offer to bite unless they're extremely provoked. Zoe has specific areas that she likes to be pet and specific areas that she does not like to be pet. And so if you disregard that and go to pet her in areas that she does not like, then she may show her teeth at you.
What is he
But
like?
just real nice slow, just like that down his back. So none of the sloths really like their hair to be pulled back upwards the opposite way.
Oh,
Oh,
They
yeah.
they don't really prefer the cat scritches either.
Oh,
You
yeah.
think that a lot of animals like the
Yeah,
scratches in your
yeah.
tail, they don't really like that.
See, he just likes to soft. Soft. Oh, you're so soft.
But it would essentially be the difference, when we hold Zoe here in a minute, between holding a house cat and a feral cat. It would be a totally different experience.
Oh, yeah.
And you might not come out looking the same after the encounter with a feral cat or a feral sloth.
Think he wants anything else to eat?
May try.
Let's see.
They do have an excellent sense of smell, so as long as you just put it right there next to his nose, he'll know that you got it there.
Oh, we just on you. Will you turns his head away, I say,
He's
I mean,
just full.
no, I'm not either. It's
He's
just,
just
But you can see how dark he is on his head. He was that color all over when he was a baby. And as they get older and they mature around 2 years old, it grows out into their adult fur and it'll be a lot lighter, a lot creamier like that. And babies kind of use that for camouflage as well because naturally in the rainforest, the adult sloths will have a lot of moss and algae and fungi all down their back that kind of camouflages them into the canopy of the rainforest. But the babies haven't had time to develop that, so when they're darker, they're staying on the mother's chest, they kind of blend in a little bit better if they were to be, you know, a real light color like that. So the number one thing in the wild that's out to get sloths is the harpy eagle. So from the tops of the trees looking down, from the bird's eye view, they're a lot easier to spot because their underbellies don't have that moss and algae on them. And you know, we talked about that locking mechanism that makes it extremely difficult to pull a sloth out of the tree. If they were to be lifted up off the branch by a eagle, then it's a lot easier for them to be pulled off the branch, which is what we had to do with him when he was sedated. We had to literally lift his claws up off of the branch to be able to get him off.
That's amazing how they just do that kind of.
oh yeah, that's a key.
Oh my God.
I love it.
I have become so obsessed with sloths. Everybody's like, I have sloths on my desk at work.
That's why I thought I'd bring her down here for this
Yeah, that's
adventure.
awesome.
Yeah.
Where are you guys from?
Well, she's I'm from Bristol, Tennessee.
Okay, that's not too far then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure he stays down.
But we work together.
You guys have other encounters for the day?
Yeah, we're gonna do the farm
tour at 2:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that one too.
Yeah, that one you get to see all of the animals on the farm except the sloths and the ones that we do specific encounters to see.
Stretch it. Oh, that's a good
He
shit.
heard John's voice.
That's what I
Did you
thought.
hear your daddy? Oh.
Will we get to see the kangaroos on the farm tour, or is that considered?
Yeah.
Come on,
You can
that's
see
a
him.
little Highland cows too.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I see where the.
Those are so sweet too.
Oh, that looks.
You don't get the exclusive encounters, like you don't get to bottle feed them like you do if you were to book just a sloth for a encounter with them, but still very nice.
Get up.
You can see how dilated those pupils are too, while he's looking at us. Those pupils stay dilated all the time in dark and light areas. And you know, we talked about how he has an absolutely horrible field of vision. So he has basically no peripheral vision. It's just like if you were to cup your hands just like this and look through it, that's about all they see. They also have a condition called rod monochromacy. That means that they only have rod cells in their eyes and not the cone cells, what we have in the back of our eyes that allows us to see color. So they are colorblind, and on top of that, everything that they do see is just basically a blur.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So the rod cells allows them to see motion pretty well, so they can see something that's moving in front of them, but they can't really distinguish what it is. So in the wild, anything that's moving towards a sloth is bad news for the sloth. Even if it's a butterfly, they want to get away from it. They don't want any conflict. They don't want any issues. So their kind of defense mechanism is to just get to the end of the branch, get away from whatever it is that's trying to get to them, because they're a lot lighter than a jaguar or an ocelot that may be daring enough to try to go out after the sloth at the end of the branch. If the cat is daring enough to go out towards the end of the branch where the sloth is at, and they end up both falling out of the tree, that's pretty much best case scenario for the sloth. Because if they both fall out of the tree, the sloth is almost definitely going to survive that fall, and the cat is almost definitely not. So you think about a cat landing on all fours, but if they're falling from a height of from 100 feet in the air, A sloth can withstand that, and a cat cannot.
Oh,
So the sloths are basically built like trucks on the inside. They have a total of 46 ribs, so that's double what we have, and they make extremely pliable. So when they do hit the rainforest floor, everything just kind of squishes and then goes back to where it's supposed to.
That's cool.
And then his organs there's connective tissue that's adhered to his organs that's keep it right up against his body cavity. So when he does hit the ground, it doesn't jiggle around inside of him like ours do if we get into a car accident. You know, our body cavity hits the front of the car, and then our organs hit the front of our body cavity.
Yeah.
But they don't sustain any type of internal damage like that because they don't have that issue.
Oh. So they're amazing little creatures.
They are. They're built a lot differently than people think. Everything that's inside of a sloth is meant to be upside down. They are designed to be upside down creatures. So everything from their circulatory system. He's froze up there. That's kind of what he looked like when he was sedated.
We stopped down to at the Knoxville Zoo on the way down
Oh,
just
yeah.
to kill some time. And they have one in there, and it was laying on this platform so you could barely see it, but it was upside down. It had its back leg like hung over the little tree trunk thing, and it never moved. And so we walked around quite a while. We came back to see still in that same position. I was like, is he alive?
Yeah, they
And
sleep
never
for like
moved.
15 to 16 hours a day. Scientists actually used to think that they slept upwards to 20 hours a day, and that's because a lot of the times they thought they were sleeping because they were just kind of viewing them from the rainforest floor, that they were just hanging there, not moving at all. They were like, oh, he must be sleeping. But actually, a lot of the times they thought they were sleeping, they were just hanging there with their eyes open and not doing anything. So a sloth has really, really low energy reserves. That's because the food that they eat in the wild is really, really low in caloric content. So you need calories to be able to make ATP in your body, which is our energy source. And so if they're not eating and they're not sleeping, they're just hanging there digesting their food. And eventually they'll move a little bit to go find some the fresher leaves at the branch, which is what they desire the most. Those younger leaves that are on the end of the branches. But for the most part, they just kind of chill out and they don't do a whole lot. And really helps them, especially with their slow movements, because all that moss and algae that's down their back just camouflages them in. How slow they move, from the floor looking up, you can't really see them that much. But if they were to be quicker animals, things could spot them a lot easier.
So it keeps them safe. You're like me, man. I'm slow and
spirit
And,
animal.
yeah, that's what we was talking about. It's like, if I ever, come back as if I leave my carnage, I'll be a sloth.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so sweet.
What do you think, buddy? Just gonna lay there sleeping? So where did you guys hear about us?
Actually, I think I saw it on TikTok or Facebook.
Yeah.
That's where I discovered it at. It's like, we've got to do this.
Yeah, I've been wanting-
Making that
I said,
early,
I
maybe March.
Been wanting to go somewhere and look and
You on both sides, TikTok and Facebook. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
but-
Our TikTok following is definitely the biggest that we have.
Oh, yeah, I love
But
watching that.
Facebook is getting up there too.
Yeah.
Recently, we've really took off with that.
Yeah, we're from John Brown.
Yeah.
That's a good way of advertising your business, I'm sure you're all crazy busy with encounters.
Oh yeah, especially in the summer times too. We stay pretty much fully booked with all of our encounters. And Saturdays are the craziest.
Friday.
Yeah.
Well, we were looking at to get, wagon
The
and
wagon,
sleeping, and
yeah.
that seems to be looking at pretty quick too.
Yeah.
And we booked back in March because we were looking at dates and we're like, we don't wait to put
Yeah.
time to get us in a good.
Quick.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, we stay pretty booked around here. But it's just really taken off in the past year or two.
Yeah.
Well, year and a half, really, no longer than that. They used to have, a year and a half ago, they had like 3 employees. Now have 19.
Oh,
And
it's
we need
good.
all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, we had a lot that called out sick, and 2 or 3 of them was on vacations that were all overlapping.
So
And
you were
Fridays and
crazy.
Saturdays are crazy for us, so it was definitely difficult to keep up. We stay pretty much fully booked with all of our
Yeah,
accounts and
so
everything.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, alone. Oh. That'd be awesome to take care of this.
You definitely wouldn't want one in your house though, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So their temperature requirements are very specific. They can't maintain their own body temperature. If you
Oh.
think about where they're native to in Central and South America, it's
So
really
that's
hot.
why
and
it's
humid.
80 in there.
Exactly. So it stays in
With
constant.
that, I wouldn't do
Ma,
well.
they could live with my mother.
Yeah,
She,
but-
she burns me up, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, I never, it freezes in my house, it
Yeah.
tickles.
yeah.
And when you think about that, you think about animals that can't regulate their own body temperature. If the outside air was to drop, you would be concerned about hypothermia.
Yeah.
So it's not so much hypothermia with sloths that we worry about, it's actually the bacteria that's inside of their gut. So they digest their food through a bacterial process, not an enzymatic process, and that bacteria has really specific temperature requirements as well. So if it drops much below what that bacteria requires to be able to live and thrive in their gut, then they will begin to deplenish. If the bacteria that's inside of a sloth's gut starts to deplenish, it's really difficult to get that colony back up and running. So in the wild, they have moths that live all throughout their fur, that when they groom themselves, they actually lick up a portion of the moth's waste, and that's where they get the bacteria to be able to digest their food. And so they have a constant supply of that, and if the weather did anything crazy and some of that colony began to deplenish, all they gotta do is groom themselves, and it kinda gets that back up and going. But the only place in the world that those moths live is on the back of the sloths that are in the rainforest. They cannot live here because of the temperature and everything.
Wow.
But, so yeah, it's really, really intricate the way that they work, and it kind of begs the question, well then, how do they even get the bacteria to begin with if we don't have the moths here? And that's actually on day 3 of the sloth's life. So the sloth is still a little baby. It will crawl on the mother's chest and lick the mother in the corners of her mouth, because when she eats her food, it kind of mixes with her saliva and bubbles up in the corners of her mouth, and the bacteria that she has to lick up is all in the saliva. Start to establish that colony of its own. And then the bacteria will live for the rest of its life as long as all of those conditions are met. So it is a really sensitive bacteria, especially to temperature. And if you go crazy like you do with giving them a whole banana or like a lot of fruit or something like that, that's really nice. The bacteria does not grow like that. And so that could cause issues for us. And everything is really, really sensitive to them. And everything has to stay on a strict schedule. You have to make sure that everything is just right and everything is on board with that schedule. Because if it varies just a little bit, that kind of stresses out that bacteria and stresses out the inside of the small. So everything's got to be really delicate and really sensitive. I have about 50 ingredients on it. Yeah, and then I'm wanting to go on to vet school, and so with this experience, I had a lot of large and small animal experience, just with the different things that I did all throughout undergrad, after high school and everything, but exotics is where I was lacking, and I was with them, get into vet school.
Mine's my fat.
Oh, flash. And a green bean chopped vegan?
Like that baby with green beans did. What was that I just fed you?
That was either zucchini or
I
squash.
think zucchini.
Yeah, that makes it better.
Yeah, that's good.
So in the wild, they have those moths that grow on them that we were talking about that's really important to them. And they actually have a symbiotic relationship with those moths, meaning that both parties benefit. You may have found this out
But
without
yeah, you
knowing.
might want to try feeding one of them.
I said, oh, that was actually
That's
pretty good, guys. Sometimes he's so picky that I have had a stick of vegetable and offered him one end of it, and he's not wanted it, and I've literally turned it around to the other side, and then he's
Oh,
takes
there
that.
he goes.
I think the ice would give you.
He's like, I got it.
Yeah, he's like, you don't need that.
But anyhow, when the sloth comes down to use the bathroom, they do use it at the base of the tree. That's the only place they ever use the bathroom. And they only go once a week. About every 7 to 10 days is when they come down. They're really exposed when they're on the floor of the rainforest, so they try to do it not as often as possible.
Is that just a poop once a week?
And pee.
pee?
Yeah, it's both of it. And so you can imagine that with holding it for that long, it's a massive amount that they're expelling. So it's actually about a third of their entire body weight that they will
By the
expel.
time they do it?
So
Wow.
in solids and liquids. And when they do that, they always use the same tree, the same side of that tree to the same pile that they always do. And that is hardwired in them. They still do that in captivity. Flash only uses one tree, and that one side of the tree every single time, because the moths require that to be able to that's what they do. So when the sloth comes down to use the bathroom, the moths will climb off of the sloth and lay their larvae in the dung pile of the sloth. And then a week later, when the sloth comes back down to use the bathroom in that same pile, the larvae have now developed into moths that will climb back up onto the sloth, and the cycle will be repeated. So if the sloth didn't do that and they went to a new pile every time, or a new base of the tree, then that larva would not be able to, crawl back up onto the sloth and replenish the population. If they didn't do that, those moths would start to die off, and then the bacteria would begin to suffer from that, and so the sloth would not be able to digest its food as efficiently, and eventually could possibly pass away with a full belly of food, just not able to digest it. So everything's really sensitive, and the sloth would not be able to survive without the moth, and the moth would certainly not be able to survive without the sloth. So it's a really important relationship that they both have.
Hey, John, a couple of people in that group have a pony ride.
You just taken today?
Come back up for bunny ride at the end, I forgot. Pony's there.
Say by the end of the week, they get tired, don't they? Probably. You think?
From what?
From just everybody.
Not so much
Yeah.
so. So our sloths here, we're really guarded at the time that people get to spend with the sloths. So the only time that Flash encounters throughout the whole day is if he's fully booked, it's an hour first thing in the morning. If he's not, and he just has one encounter, then it's 30 minutes, which is what you guys are doing. But right after you guys, we have another couple that's coming in to visit with him, and then he'll be done for the rest of the day. And he's got a 20-foot enclosure in there that he can go up and down as he pleases. And sometimes he'll even tap on that door right there, wanting to come back out while we're doing out here encounters with the other sloths. And that's just kind of a bonus if he does that. So we let him come and go as he pleases, but it's kind of hard to get a sloth down from a 20-foot enclosure if he doesn't want to. So he gets to do what he wants. And our other sloths don't encounter for more than 2 hours a day total.
Well, how many sloths total do you have?
We have 3.
3,
Yeah.
okay.
So Zoe's encounters are 30 minutes at a time. You can book 2 30 minutes back to back. But then after that, she needs at least 2 or 3 hours to rest in between and kind of recuperate, because while she does genuinely enjoy the interaction, that is what she loves to do. As you saw earlier, she was trying to climb through us at the door. But we want to keep it limited. That way, she keeps enjoying it and she keeps looking forward to it. Sometimes you'll see sloth places advertise their encounters as drop-in sloth encounters, or no appointment necessary sloth encounters. And you really have to be careful with places like that, because if they only had 3 sloths, those 3 sloths were expected to encounter, all throughout the day, they're going to get pretty tired of it. At the end of the week or the end of the day, they're going to be pretty tired of it, and they're not going to look forward to that interaction. And Zoe would be the same way. She does enjoy that interaction, but she needs time to be able to recuperate in between and be able to look forward to the next encounter. And so most of the time they get their schedules kind of down. So she knows when we're in here and we're talking about Flash and we're saying things about Flash and saying his name, because she does know his name, then she's already kind of expecting that we're going to come in there and get it, because usually people book like you guys did the VIP. But if they don't and they just book with Flash, then when we end up with Flash and the people go out and I come back in here, she's like hooked over the side of her hand looking at me like, and there's the people.
I want to come out.
and she just expects it, and so, you know, if I don't have anything else to do, and there's not another encounter afterwards, I'll just go in and I'll hold her for a few minutes, just because that's what she's expecting. And they do like to stick to their schedule, so they have specific times, Zoe has specific times throughout the day that she can encounter through, and so does Dash, our baby. And he stays up at the main house for the most part. And it is,
Will he be incorporated
when
in all
he's
this
about a year
eventually?
old, he'll come down here, and I think what our goal is to try to get him and Zoe acclimated to where they can interact together, but they have to have enough space to be able to get away from each other, because they are pretty solitary animals, they don't cuddle up like a lot of other animals do. So we would probably have to transfer them over into the 20-foot enclosure and put Flash in there. But with that, we'll just have to experiment that in our slower months, because if they're all the way in the top of the enclosure and not really wanting to come down, then, you know, what are you gonna
It's
do?
like hard to do, yeah.
So,
Aw.
well, it's time for us to switch over, but let me double check with him real quick, because I have another group that's supposed to come in here with Flash, but I can't be in both areas, so give me just a second and see if they have something figured out for that.
Let's get Fallon to do Zoe. Hey Fallon, I need you to do Zoe for VIP.
We'll go ahead and get set up anyhow. I think Fallon is gonna come and finish you guys
Hey,
out.
will Georgie come to you for a minute? Oh, I just gotta show,
Okay.
Coda and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Video or something coming up.
Yeah, it's on Facebook Live right now. She's on the same end, yes. So we will probably set up our chairs for you guys in here.
Okay.
And that way you can hold her. This is Baku. He's a nuisance here. Yes, Bakugan is a three-banded Brazilian armadillo. And let me close this so she doesn't start climbing out at us. He's actually distantly related to the sloths. So they're part of the superorder called Zothorans, which means hinged spines. And he does have a spine that's underneath his carapace here. And that allows him to curl all the way up into a ball like that. And sloths can actually do that as well. They can fold their spine all the way over into a ball. And so Flash, the other day when we had the vet that was going to be coming to do his exams, we had to keep him out here for most of the day, and he was not a fan of it. And so when he was out here, he curled all the way up in the little corner out there in between the branch and the ceiling, and was just like all the way flopped over. And it's like, well, that's a pretty good representation of, you know, the way that they're able to fold their spines over. We'll put him in there, because sometimes he gets annoying. He's a insectivore, and so they start to kind of dig at our feet looking for bugs in between our toes and stuff.
Crawling around.
I don't know where Fallon is at.
The trees in the petting farm when there's not gas here, and they'll shake the branches like this.
We'll go ahead and grab, if you guys want to grab one of those chairs for me. Get the other one, we'll go ahead and see set up in here.
They all have a wonderful time at it. Here in captivity is
Oh, she's like, hello, everybody. Oh,
And you can hear the little whimpering noises that she makes too. Hey Fallon. Just don't let her climb onto you yet.
hi. She's like, hello.
Go ahead and step back from her for now, because I don't want her to climb onto you guys before we talk about the way she likes to sit.
all solitary, the females live in groups of 10.
We haven't talked about this sloth moth. No, we did talk about that. We haven't talked about where Zoe came from. Okay. You don't see my
She's excited. As bad as excited.
Kangaroos are so sensitive.
Yep.
Plasmosis, you can pet a cat and then pet a kangaroo and the kangaroo dies.
this is Flash.
Oh, sorry, buddy. My goodness, donk.
We're gonna
my bed.
feed Flash the rest of his breakfast this morning.
Alright, guys.
He hasn't had much of an appetite, but we'll see if he's picked up.
Can I take a picture of it?
Yeah, that's completely fine. And I can take pictures of you guys too while you're standing next to him. But when we go to offer him food, we just offer him the end of it, you know, kind of parallel to his mouth. And then once he gets a hold of it, you can just let go and he'll take the rest of it. So we'll see if he wants to eat any more this morning. He hasn't ate a whole lot, but all of that that's in that bowl is for him. So Flash is a 2-finger sloth. You can see he's got 2 on the front feet and 3 on the back. But the number of fingers that we're referring to is the ones that are on the front. He is 6 years old. When we got him, he was already 3. So we got him from a facility that was basically just observation beforehand. So he was not used to anything like this. And it really took John about 2 years of just working with him, talking with him, getting him comfortable with being around people and people being in his enclosure before he would, you know, even consider taking some of the food like this out of our hands. And he has learned this trick that he can go all the way up here and curl himself into a ball in between this branch and the ceiling, which is not very interesting to watch. So I'm gonna see if I can get some rice out for him. He's probably holding out for the rice here. He loves this rice mixture, but he doesn't necessarily need it. This is not what he was raised on. The breeder that we got our other 2 sloths from raises their baby sloths on this mixture. But he doesn't really need it. It's just kind of a treat for him. So if you give him this, their digestive tracts can only hold so much, so he doesn't really eat much after this. But since he's not eating the rest of his breakfast, at least I'll give you guys something to feed him with.
You wanna try to feed him?
You sure? Yeah. Let me chop up some other these little veggies to put in there real quick.
So you just hold the plate up to him?
Yeah, let me chop up some other of these vegetables to put in there to make sure that he gets enough of his veggies this morning to
You don't like
hold him
veggies?
over.
You like the treat?
He's like, I like rice.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like
rice
rice
is his
too.
favorite, yeah. And you can pet him real slow, just down his back, just like this, with an open hand. That's just fine.
Yeah.
So, the monkey that the guy had,
Oh my
y'all
goodness.
do monkey encounters too?
We're getting there. We're working on it. It is still a work in progress. He's still a baby.
Yeah.
He's about 8 months old. No, 7 months old. And is still kind of shy around people right now. So he's got to get a little bit more used to people before we.
You should take a video.
Yeah, just let it go and film it.
They have an excellent sense of smell because their vision is so poor. But he can smell this rice and he knows that I'm chopping this stuff up for him.
Are you ready for your treat?
Fast.
What a alright name, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought that too.
So we've got Flash and Dash, Zoe, and then our next girl that we get, we're gonna name Chloe. Sure you don't want anything else before we give you that? He usually loves green beans.
He's like,
He
you
had
already got the treat.
a vet visit 2 days ago, so he's still kind of recovering from all of that. Okay, Flash. Yeah, you smell that, don't you? Come on, bud.
Get your video of that.
I know.
So yeah, if you wanna hold this dish here for him too, we can take lots of pictures and everything for you. And he can stand just like this right next to him and take some pictures just like that. Those pictures always turn out the best.
Yeah.
So Flash has never offered to climb onto any of us like our other 2 sloths do. That's just because of the background that he came from. But our other 2 sloths came from a breeder that's been doing it for over 30 years and has a lot of experience and everything with these guys. And he actually has an ambassador program for his sloths that he raises the sloths to become ambassador sloths. To be an ambassador animal, you have to genuinely enjoy interacting with people, the time that they spend with people. And Flash didn't come from that situation, but our other 2 did.
Okay, picture of you?
I did,
Are you filming it or taking
no, I'm
pictures?
taking pictures right now. I changed,
Are you saving them when you take it, or are you still on Snapchat?
I got off Snapchat.
Okay.
I think I saved it, but I'm not positive.
Let me see.
I'm not following her.
Well, let me see it. Thank you. You're on video.
Yeah, just now, I changed it to video right there.
I'm a dig.
The reason I asked about the monkey, we have a daughter that would,
Oh, she would love it.
that would be the bee's knees. Very.
She would love it. Yeah. You do like her rice, don't you?
That is his favorite.
This is so cool.
So I said that sloths have, pretty bad vision, but I didn't really talk about how yet. His eyes are really dilated, those pupils, you can kind of see. They stay like that all the time. So
Oh,
they
wow.
basically have no peripheral vision. It's essentially this is about all they see. And so they don't see something until it's like right in front of their face. They also have a condition called rod monochromacy. That means that they only have rod cells in their eyes and no cone cells. So the cone cells are the ones that are responsible for seeing color. So they are colorblind since they don't have those. But rod cells allows them to see motion. So they can see things moving but can't really distinguish what they are. He just basically sees blobs.
Also, to put in flashes your
Yeah. That's Bakugan. He's a three-banded Brazilian armadillo. He's got the biggest personality ever, but he loves to dig around people's toes looking for bugs, so it gets pretty annoying when he's out here running around with people.
He's funny looking.
Look at him.
He sure does like us rice.
Yes, he does.
You know how to get a treat, don't you? Just not eat.
That's why I have to chop up those veggies so small in there, because if I don't chop them up that small, he pushes them to the side and just eats the rice.
Here, you come hold it.
Take a few pictures with him.
Yeah. Take a few pictures with him.
And if you bring it down a little bit more, he can extend down even further. Where he's Yeah, Christine, the daughter was talking about,
She wanted a finger monkey
oh, those were so
when
cute.
she was little.
Mhm.
She was all about a
Yeah.
finger monkey.
She wanted Zuzus too, reels.
Zuzus, yes. Can I get real?
She wanted, that was, not hedgehogs, but what's the other thing?
Hamsters.
Hamsters.
Oh,
I thought
See,
when she got
I
her own
was-
house, she'd
yeah.
have her, all the Zuzus she wanted.
I was the same thing about hamsters when I was young. I always wanted hamsters. Our first hamster didn't work out. He got loose in the house somewhere, never found him. Then we finally got another one when I was old enough to actually enjoy sleeping at night. And it was in my room, and hamsters are,
Very loud.
yeah, especially at nighttime. And I got so mad at that thing. Every night I would have to get up, take its
Well, away
cage
from it.
outside back into the kitchen to get so I could just sleep. I mean, he just ran on the wheel in there.
Well, we had the fake Zuzus, little, furry robot.
Is there an actual animal that's called a Zuzu?
No.
It's a toy.
Okay.
But she went somewhere and they had hamsters.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, Daddy, I want a real Zuzu. I'm like, baby, when you get your own place, I'll get you a Zuzu. When she got older, I was like, okay, you're on your own, you ready for, you want some Zuzus? She goes, no, them things stink.
All kids go through a phase like that.
This is the same kid we was on, we were at Smith Lake Park, and a jet ski come by, and she goes, Daddy, they've got motorcycles on the water.
Oh my gosh. Kids say it.
You see him moving that around
Yeah.
to get the rice?
Yeah, he's done moved that piece around several times.
That is funny.
I think this is the only way we're gonna keep him down here because, so he had a vet visit the other day.
Yeah.
And so we had to keep him down here, throughout the day, longer than we usually do. Because he has a 20-foot enclosure, and if he goes all the way up in that enclosure,
You can't get to it.
yeah, it's not for sure that we're gonna be able to get him back down, because we don't ever force the sloths to do anything that they don't want to do. So we kept him out, and he wanted to go back in, and he wanted to take him a nap.
Mhm.
And so he decided that since he could not go back in and sleep in his hammock,
I think he's decided I've got all he wants.
you just set that down, I'm gonna make him a little bit more for us. He decided that he was going to wedge himself in between that branch there and the ceiling. He curled himself all the way
Look at her.
into
Oh
this
my
tiny little ball. And he's
goodness.
probably about to do it right now, or he was sleeping like this at one point too. But it is extremely boring to just watch you sleep. Let me see if I can get some a little bit more rice out for him. These guys want to see you. They don't just want to see your back.
Are we allowed to hold him?
No, so since Flash came from that situation that I was talking about where, yeah, he was just observation beforehand, he's people friendly enough to where he will interact like this, but no more than this. He's never offered to climb onto us like our other sloths do. They were conditioned from a really young age to enjoy holding people, or people holding them, but he did not come from that situation. I know, but I'm working on it. So everything that we do with our sloths is on their own comfort, on their own terms. Like I said, we don't ever force them to do anything they don't want to do. And since he was not raised the same way our other babies are, we never wanted to stress him out. You know, after he's older like that, it's kind of hard to teach an old sloth new tricks. And so we will let that be completely his decision if he does decide one day to climb onto us. Be patient with me, bud, I'm working on it. So this rice mixture is actually what the babies get to kind of fatten them up for the first year of their life. And it's brown rice, shaved sweet potatoes, and a really high quality dog food that's been soaked in water and then mixed into the mixture. But he was not raised on this mixture, so we don't give him a whole lot of it just because we don't want to upset his stomach. He's got a specific bacteria in his stomach that allows him to digest his food. And that bacteria is very sensitive to change and things like that. So we try to keep things the same for him and just kind of offer him rice as a treat occasionally. So you can hold this again for him.
So what are the encounters where you can hold one?
So the holding encounters are with Zoe and with Dash. Zoe is 16 months old and Dash is 8 months old. But they came from a breeder that has been doing it for over 30 years, that actually conditions his babies from a very, very young age, just a few days old, to enjoy being held by people. So the mothers are clicker trained to know that when she hears a little clicker noise, she gets a little bit of a treat while the breeder just borrows baby for just like 10, 15 seconds, and then gives baby right back to mom. So mom is never stressed out, therefore baby is never stressed out. And that time will slowly increase as the baby gets just a little bit older and is more comfortable with it.
Right.
Up until when they're weaned, around 3-4 months old, of the mother's own choosing, that baby is used to being held for upwards to almost an hour a day and is completely fine with that. So he does have an ambassador program where he raises a lot of ambassador babies. But occasionally he'll have a baby that goes through that just kind of tolerates being held but doesn't actually genuinely display signs of enjoying it. And those babies will end up not passing that test, the final ambassador test. They'll go on to a facility that's similar to where you got Flash from, where they would just be observation and handled and held minimally.
So go ahead and come out this way. We gotta go before she wants to come back out.
Yep. She'll chase you down.
She's coming after us.
She's like, come back. Yep. So if you ever hear somebody say that sloths don't like to be held, I think that's the
That's
argument. That's
right
proof
there.
that Zoe
Yeah.
does
Oh.
like to be
Yeah,
held.
right back before the.
It does, exactly right.
It's all about home.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So since they've left Zoe's enclosure, could she hold Zoe?
So you guys have only booked for the sloth encounter with Flash.
Okay.
So it would be a different encounter that you have to book for her to be able to hold her. But we can step in there and see her afterwards.
See, when I called, they told me to book the sloth encounter,
Oh,
and I thought I was gonna get to hold it.
oh no.
So,
Yeah.
you're pushing the vegetables out.
Yeah, he makes a mess all the time. It's alright.
It's like he's moving them around just to get the rice.
Yeah.
So
He's
the,
a very messy eater.
So I don't think the website really,
The website is hard.
probably
Yes.
doesn't give you
Okay.
enough information.
Information.
Maybe should update that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let Donna know. She's the one that the mastermind.
Not being
behind all
ugly.
of that. No, I
No,
understand.
the website is very hard to,
Okay.
Pretty much everywhere I go, I make suggestions to improve
Okay, yeah,
what we're
sure.
doing.
we took a Christmas, we went to Pigeon Forge in Gatlinburg Christmas, and we come across y'all, and I called, and, she's, cause we wasn't barred, you know, and she said that just to book the sloth encounter, and
Yeah. So did it not have like a description on there of what the experience would be like?
I think it said you would get the, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and
It's
look.
been 6 months.
Yeah, it's been over 6 months ago, because,
And I will say that we have updated the website a lot since then.
Okay,
We went
good.
through a trial with trying a whole different platform, which ended horribly. We had to switch back
Yeah,
over.
I understand.
But we did change a lot of things on there and put more descriptions in and everything, so. But I'll let her know and see if there's anything that we can do to make it a little bit more clear.
well, like I said, it was in January, because after we got back from Pigeon Forge, we started looking at it and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and,
So we raised 4 children,
Mm-hmm.
and our youngest one's always at the house now, so we've started trying to, for nearly 20 years, all we did was sports.
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Football, softball, baseball, basketball.
cheerleading,
Math club.
you know.
So, now that the kids are gone, we're trying to do things ourselves, you know, we're doing experiences ourselves,
Yeah.
so.
Where were you guys from?
I'm from Coleman, Alabama.
Oh,
It's halfway between, Birmingham and Huntsville,
okay. About how long of a drive was that?
3 hours.
It's about 3 hours, it's not terrible, it's not
It's
terrible.
closer to 4, because we stayed in,
We're in
Riverside,
Cleveland,
yeah.
we're staying in Cleveland, so we're about, I think, what did it say, 29 minutes from y'all?
Yeah.
And so it's not terrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't a terrible drive this morning from the hotel.
Yeah. Do you have any other encounters booked for the day?
no.
No, I didn't know you could do multiples.
Yeah. You may be able to, if you call the number on the website or whatever, you get a hold of Donna, and you can ask her, just say that you're here today, and kind of explain the situation too to her as well, just say that you thought that you were gonna be able to hold the sloth, and we may have some, I haven't looked later in the day, we may have some open appointments today to be able to, if that's what you guys wanted to do, try to hold another sloth. But other encounters that we have the farm tour, where you get to see all of the animals, excluding the sloths.
It's like,
So
done.
He's like,
look at him, he left all the.
he left the vegetables, you little slinker.
He is.
He's like, I think that was all the rice.
You little
Look
Slinker.
at him, he's got it all over his nose now.
You said he was 6 years old.
He's 6, yeah. And they can live in captivity, they can live to be up to 50 years old.
Oh,
So the
wow.
oldest sloth that we know of, he's just gonna show us a little acrobatic trick here. He's like,
You gonna
either
get
give
up
me
there?
more rice, or I am going
Clean
into
your
a ball.
nose? No, you don't want to clean your nose? Most animals don't like their nose to be touched anyway.
Well, I guess you guys will get to see a cool little way he folds himself all the way into a tiny little ball up there.
That is so funny.
He never used to do that. I don't think he knew that he could do this until the other day when he had that vet visit and he had to stay out here longer. We may have to adjust the way that his branch is to where he doesn't have enough room to do that, so when he's doing encounters up here, he stays down. Because this is not where he stays. We can take a look at his encounter or his enclosure afterwards, but he has a 20-foot enclosure that goes up and he has a hammock at the top where he spends most of his time in there and takes his naps. But good grief,
But
Flash.
it looks like he's trying to lay down.
Yeah, he does that, and then other position that he can curl all the way up into a ball. So
That is hilarious.
Baku, the three-banded armadillo in there, and Flash, so the sloths and armadillos or anteaters are all part of a super order called Zethorans, which just means hinged spine.
Okay.
And so they have the ability, sloths have the ability, obviously in that picture that I showed you,
Yeah.
to curl all the way up into a ball like that. They just don't have, this is the one from the side. I mean, it's just all the way curved.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always, any research that we do on the sloths that we tell people, we always cross-reference everything and look at several different sites to make sure that all of it is correct. And, you know, beforehand, I was always telling people that they're part of the Zithoran super order and that they can fold their spine. But then seeing that and actually being able to take that picture and show that to people now so they know what I'm talking about, it makes it seem a little bit more real.
So how do we look and see if they have an opening today for?
She said call her.
Yeah, I don't know that you can, you may not be able to book like on the website the same day. I think you have to have like an advance, but if you call her and explain the situation, just ask if there's any other open slots for today, she may be able to get you in. How long are you guys staying in Cleveland?
Till tomorrow.
Okay.
Are y'all open on, y'all not open on Sundays?
Not
I
on
didn't think,
Sundays,
yeah, I didn't think
Monday
website
if you
said
stay
that.
long enough for that.
Yeah.
But she may be able to get something worked out. And I can let her know too after, I don't have anything right after you guys, so I'll head up there just to let her know that you guys will probably call and
Yeah.
what do you think, Blake?
He's so cute.
Yeah,
Yeah. So cute. Yeah, cause on the, like, which I have not been on your website since, y'all said y'all updated or whatever. But it only gave you 2 times, 9:30, 10:30, that was it.
Yeah, so for the sloth encounter, which is what Flash is, his is called sloth encounter. Zoe's is called sloth snuggles, and Dash's is called sloth cuddles. And then to book those two, they're different time slots, so they interact later on throughout the day. But Flash only does his encounters from 10 to 10:30 and 10:30 to 11 because his enclosure goes up 20 feet. And once he goes back in there after his encounters in the morning, we don't know what time he's going to be coming back down.
Right.
Throughout the day, he comes and goes as he pleases, but we can't really book a solid time and expect that he's going to come down then.
Right.
I only see him at 9:30, that's why he comes down there.
Exactly, yeah.
Say, I'm not silly, I know what time to eat.
But if you book with Dash, I think that is a treat because he is 9 months old and he's really small and he's really cute. And you get 20 minutes with him unless you book 2 back to back, then you get 40 minutes. And that, you have to do that if you both wanted to hold, you do 2 back to back. And then with Zoe, if you book 1 30-minute encounter, you get to hold both in 30 minutes, so.
Well, maybe we'll step out and go call her and see, cause while we're in town, we do have reservations tonight for a restaurant, but it just depends on, I guess, maybe what time.
Yeah. Well, we'll step out here and we'll sanitize our hands one more time before we touch anything else.
Did you wanna pay them again?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
And I don't need a hold either, so.
Okay. Yeah.
No. We had Christine.
one is an iguana. He's perfectly friendly. I pick him up with gloves because when you pick him up, his claws are crazy sharp and blood loss gets old. But when you pet him, like this, he feels all rough and bumpy. If you pet him here, he feels like sandpaper. If you pet him here, he feels like a purse or a wallet or something like that. This guy is an iguana. He's a green iguana. The scientific name of that is iguana iguana. This guy is a senior citizen iguana. He's a minimum of 18 years old, just by knowing where he has been for the last 18 years. Before that, we don't know. He could be older, could be not. We really just don't know. So he's vegetarian. The iguanas in the wild, they live about 10 years, but in captivity, prey type animals can get much, much older than they do in the wild. That's because in the wild, prey type animals obviously are hunted by predator animals, so that shortens up their life expectancy dramatically. And as they get older, it's harder and harder for them to get away from a predator. Also, it's harder for them to find enough food to sustain themselves. But in captivity, they don't have to run from predators and they don't have to find their own food. So they can live a whole lot longer in captivity than they can in the wild. So like in the case of a kangaroo, in the wild a kangaroo is lucky to make 5 years, a male. In captivity they live 20. A sloth in the wild they think lives about 20 years. A sloth in an encounter where they see dozens and dozens of people every day has an average lifespan of 2 months. The sloth here will live about 50 years. The monkeys also, they don't live near as long in the wild as they do in captivity. They're getting all kind of amped up. Best way to get them to like you is to ignore them. All right, so that one is iguana. This next one is a bearded dragon. Her name is Tootsie. This one comes from Australia, so this is a good size, shape, and color to hide in the what? In the desert. So this one hides in the desert. It's good size, shape, and color to hide in the desert. This one and that one both have a peristeel gland. That's something right in between its eyes up here that senses light. So in the wild, if something went like that above their head, a shadow, they'd be like, they'd run because they know someone's coming down after them, right? This one also, so that one has a form of mimicry. Its form of mimicry is if something is coming toward it, it'll turn its head sideways like this, try to show that big round thing on the side of its face to be its eyeball. Because if it actually had eyes that big, it would be a huge animal. And it's hoping that an animal coming toward it will go, look at the size of that thing and maybe run away instead of come to eat it. This one has a form of mimicry. Its form of mimicry is that it's mimicking an animal that has spikes. But it's mimicry, not defense, because these spikes are fake. There's nothing at all that's sharp about them. But it wants an animal to think, I don't really want a mouthful of needles. I'm not going to eat that. You want to hold this with your hand like that? All right, so you got one hand, so let's put it right there. These next ones are leopard geckos. They are too fast for you guys to hold because they get away. So these ones have their own form of mimicry. So who can guess what these are mimicking? You know what is true of many lizards or amphibians in the wild that are brightly colored? Yeah, poisonous. So these guys are just throwing it out